Ladies and gentlemen, slipping and sliding our way across the internet this week, it's the Strings and Things podcast with your host, Patrick Grant. On this show, musicians stop by Peppergreen Media to change their strings and talk about all kinds of things. When the threading and the stretching are done, those new strings go right to work in a special performance with our guest. Joining us this week is first-rate flat picker and singer-songwriter Ann Klein, whose most recent album is Tumbleweed Symphony. Ann is just settling in now with her Telecaster, so let's hand this over to Patrick.
Hey, Ann, how are you?
Wow, I'm good. Now I'm nervous.
Well, we'll see what that's all about. I see you've brought a Telecaster.
Yeah, it's a reissue, a 52 reissue. So it's really nothing fancy, but it's just so stable and sounds great, and I love it.
What's this contraption you have at the edge of your bridge?
So this is a B bender.
I've been on a few of those. It's taken me a couple days to recover, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, sometimes you do kind of lose your momentum and you do have to recover. It's a little awkward at times, but it's something that you can just put right on the bridge. Like the other B benders are done with the strap, and it's nothing elaborate like that. You just put this contraption on the bridge, and it just bends the B string up a whole step. So it gives you that sort of quasi-pedal steel twang.
So for our listening audience, what does it look like? It looks like just a skinny lever for the width of just a single string.
I mean, it almost looks like a whammy bar, but it doesn't. It's shorter than a whammy bar. I mean, you can look them up. It's made by this guy, Richard Bowden, Bowden. I think he knew Don Henley, and he was a guitarist out in L.A. and many years ago, and then moved back to Texas. And he makes these B benders.
Well, while we're here, let's change some strings.
Okay.
Has it been a while? When's the last time you changed your strings?
For this, it's been a while, and it's a good thing for me to change them because the B bender, every now and then it'll snap. So it's good to have fresh strings on here.
Because you don't want to do it in a performance.
Exactly.
So I was trying to stay one step ahead of that probability.
Exactly.
I have my 1962 reissue here of a seafoam green Jaguar. And it has a set of 11 gauge strings on it, and I'm going to be changing it to a 10 because I did some bridge work, and it's sort of getting a bit sort of slap happy on the extreme upper neck, and I think that if I just get a slightly thinner gauge, it'll get rid of that. So let's dive right in. Peg winders, here we go.
Peg winders of the world unite.
Do you have a favorite way? Do you like changing strings? Particular order?
It depends on the guitar, but I tend to just take all the strings off, which is probably not the right thing to do, but this guitar it's a rock. It just does not change ever.
And that's what we like about Telecasters.
Yeah, they are stable.
Well, not the Jaguar so much, and it's sort of famous for being unstable. They don't come with the best bridge. So I got this thing called a mastery bridge.
Oh, so you swapped the bridge out.
And so since I swapped the bridge out, it's just been fantastic.
Oh, well, that's good.
You know what it's like you get a new kind of guitar. It's almost like you've joined a whole other fraternity or sorority, as the case may be, and everyone's like, oh, man, then you got to get these things and that thing, and then...
Plus, it changes how you play. You know, it makes you play differently, too, I found.
Yeah.
Every guitar really makes you acclimate yourself to it, which is okay. I also like to take them all off because then I could clean the neck, and this area gets really dusty. I won't be doing that really, but you know, usually I have like a nice spray and get all those oils off.
So, out of all instruments, what was your earliest memory of seeing somebody play guitar and you said, like, maybe I want to try that?
Well, my brothers played. And there were guitars in the house.
Oh, that's great.
And that's what made me want to play. it was right there. So I did, and both my brothers played, but they were not crazy enough to stay with it. And I was, and I started playing when I was like 7 and started writing songs like the minute I learned 3 chords.
Were they helpful, like in the very, beginning stages? Like here's an E chord and stuff like that?
Not really. I think by that time, neither of them were even playing. The guitars were just in the house.
Okay.
They're a lot older than I
Right.
am, so they were not helpful.
And we're of a similar age, so we fondly remember analog forms of entertainment growing up when we're on a budget.
Yeah.
Or just learning chords while watching TV, which seems to have been a big hobby of mine, actually.
Learning chords while watching TV. Yeah, I used to do, like, when I was a little older, right-hand exercises, ding, 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 watching TV.
Followed my heart over the sea. Love always seems to get the best of me. I wore my chains, wore them with pride. Just my luck, my love he lied. Well, it's a sad song. Never knew where I belonged.
Well, Ann, so you started playing guitar because your guitar's lying around the house. How are we going to talk about the quick leap between then and it became a career?
I grew up in Connecticut.
Okay.
Not very far at all from here. I said I had started writing pretty much immediately after I learned a few chords. I'd learn a new chord and I'd write 5 songs. When I was 13, I had a partner, and she was 14, and we used to play in little coffee shops, and we wrote songs together, and we were little hippie girls with long hair and Indian ponchos and
Macrame vests.
yeah, well, not that far, but
Okay, yeah.
but we called ourselves Cashmere, and then I got into electric guitar when I was about 18 or something like that, and we put together a new wave band, kind of like Lena Lovitch, because she had that sort of Broadway operatic type of voice, and we wrote these really quirky songs, and that was sort of the beginning of it all. And I moved to New York and finished high school in New York, and then I just started playing with anybody that would let me play with them. I still had my own bands and toured in Europe doing my own thing. I've made a bunch of records with my own music, but I also play guitar and mandolin for a lot of other people. And I also help produce work for other people as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I came across you doing a lot of work on Broadway.
Yeah, I've subbed on several shows. What that means is you learn the book, you learn all the parts, and you go in and play the show. You don't get to rehearse. You don't get to do any of that.
Yeah, I saw that from an article in
In the Times.
July 2014.
Yeah.
That you come in, you know the parts, but you haven't played with the band at all. It's
Yeah.
sort of.
And with guitar, there's pedal moves. It's not just playing. You got to be on the right pedal, and you switch guitars. And I mean, it's not hard, but if you're just going in and doing the show, it's a little scary.
Sure.
It's a little scary.
Because they're all strangers. There's no friendly face you can turn to. Well, I'm sure there's sympathetic faces.
There are friendly faces, and the first time I subbed, I think I didn't know anybody. Everybody was new, but everybody was so nice. I mean, they want you to do well, but it's nerve-wracking.
Do you remember the first record album that you went out and got that really influenced you?
I think the first record I bought might have been Ram.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Second solo album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that record. It's just so fun and silly and
it's cool layers of production.
so cool. Now I listen to it and, I get all weepy, it just makes me sad for some reason. It's just, yeah, I think that was the first record I bought and I learned that song Heart of the Country. I don't know if you know the song, but
Yeah.
I learned it and played it at Beatle Fest when I was like 13 or something and came in 4th place.
I learned a lot from the Beatles growing up, and just now that I'm older, they had all those like Beatles piano versions where we were all in the wrong keys and the worst possible arrangements.
Yeah.
If I can go back and tell my younger self anything, it's like just listen to the album.
Just listen to the album.
Because it's going to be so much easier to play it if you play it in the right key.
Yeah, there's a reason they played it like that, unless they were using a capo. But you can hear that.
You can hear that.
You can totally hear, okay, capo 2nd fret, because the strings are open. You can hear that openness.
Like Nowhere Man is, he plays it in D, but he capos up, so it sounds like it's an E.
Right.
Even worse, though, with And Your Bird Can Sing, which is recorded slowly in D, and all those guitar parts fall right underneath the fingers. But like everything on Revolver, they sped it up.
They sped it up,
So
yeah.
they sped it up to E. So like now they print the sheet music in E, and if you try to play an E on a guitar, it doesn't fall underneath the fingers, all those scale patterns as easily.
Wow, that I did not know. I mean, I knew they sped things up, but that's a lot. The whole tone? That's a lot.
Yeah, well, if you listen to some of the vocals on those albums, it was just, everyone was high. It sounded excellent.
Yeah.
I heard a great quote about Revolver, that it could be argued that every track on Revolver spawned its own subgenre of rock and roll, which I thought was
Interesting.
right. If you think about it, every track, turned into like the Byrds or ELO or Mahavishnu or
Right.
yeah.
What would be Mahavishnu, like the sitar?
Anything with a sitar, or I was going to say anything that so embraced
Except they
Indian culture.
They didn't play fast, which that was one thing they were not known for, playing fast. I mean, Mahavishnu was like a speed demon situation.
A lot of folks who value that.
Yeah, definitely.
Nimble-fingered numbskulls, one of my mentors calls that.
I mean, I'll never be like that, but I've been trying to embrace that a little more. There's something very zen about being able to do that stuff and practice like that.
Well, I have been, playing with Robert Fripp in the guitar circle, and my velocity has increased amazingly because of, they show you how it's done.
Right.
And of course, it's all about the right hand.
Definitely.
I have a lot of friends who've been playing guitar a lot longer than I have. They're still in amazement of that when I pick, I never touch anything. It's all free arm suspended.
But you don't ground your... Really?
Don't have to.
You don't have to.
Spent years getting the balance. Like riding a bike. You don't need training wheels anymore. And that's one way to do it faster, too. So.
Okay.
But now that I do it, I like having that balance in my arm. It just feels good because like once you get going, it feels like a gyroscope.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He said, I got a loaded weapon, yeah. Well, I got a loaded gun. And I won't hesitate to fire on
So, Ann, any of these records that you grew up listening to and playing along with, have they, what influenced how you play and what you play today? And if somebody, wants to work with Ann Klein, what are they going to get? What are your specialties?
I mean, the Beatles really influenced me in terms of writing more than playing. Like, okay, how do you support this song without necessarily being a technical geek or anything like that? So I think a lot of people would say I'm a very tasty player and that I make really good choices in terms of the song. And that I learned from the Beatles. Later on, I got more into blues and really got into like Stevie Ray Vaughan. And that changed. I mean, it just added to that. I think I'll always be one of those tasty players that always works around a vocalist. But playing the blues added a whole other dimension. It added a whole different passion to the playing and technique. Then I kind of got into country music, which really requires some pretty intense technique.
Yeah, I've seen and I've heard you do some flat picking, and that's always...
Yeah.
I can't do it, but I've always had a soft spot in my heart for it.
Well, it takes a little work, but if you can play classical music, in a way, it's not that different. Well, it's all music, it's all Western.
Well, what I notice is, to my ears, a lot of it's very diatonic.
Yes.
And it all revolves around 5s to 1s in terms of cadences.
Totally.
And, yeah, so harmonically, the way it functions is very much like classical music.
Yeah.
One of my favorite phrases by Nicholas Slonimsky in defining bluegrass, even though it's in some ways a naive indigenous music, but there are all of a sudden these moments of perplexing polyphony. Because when you have everybody playing these single lines at the same time, that's what always catches my ears. The individual voices, very little strumming.
Well, then there's Western swing too, when they get into some jazz changes and, mixed with this incredible country technique. I mean, that's pretty deep. That stuff is insane, Guys like, Red Volkert, and he'll sometimes come and play at Hill Country. So if you can go see him, I highly recommend it. And he plays regularly in Austin, if you ever go to Austin. He's like a truck driver. Big guy, kind of overweight. He eats barbecue 5 times a day. You just wouldn't expect it. Comes out and he plays that thing
wow.
This guy's not human,
So what have you been doing recently?
I just produced a track for Laura Benanti, who is a Tony Award-winning actress, singer, Broadway person. She also does television work. She was on Nashville and Supergirl, and she's extraordinarily talented, just can sing anything, from pop to opera to, she's just unbelievable. And I've been playing with her, and she came in and wrote this song and to a gig we were doing. Wrote this song, and I said, we got to record that. So she said, okay, make it happen. So I made it happen, and it's called I Like Musicals. And it's funny because she's hilarious. And
if we wanted to find out more about it, where could we, website?
You could go to her website, Laura Benanti, BENANTI.com.
Let me ask you about playing in the pit, whether you're a sub or, if you're not a sub, what do you call the person who has the gig?
The chair.
The chair.
Regular. They got the chair.
They got the chair.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of guys who have the chair, and once they have the chair, they can do these other projects as long as they set up their subs and they go around, but they always come back knowing that they have the chair. How can you lose the chair?
Well, it's just like any job. If you're not cutting it, they'll fire you. But I think you have to be there a certain percentage of the time.
Right. It's like paying taxes in Britain or not paying taxes. You have to, at least 180 days of the year, you have to be in the chair.
Something like that. I don't know what the exact amount is, but you do have to be there. But you can take time off if you want to get a cool tour, and I just don't know what the limitation is on that.
It always felt to me like it is a special club. It is almost a guild of sorts.
You have to be in the union to sub. I mean, I think having a chair is almost like having a corporate job, but much better. It's much better because you can take time off and you can get your subs and you can do other things. But the gig always happens at, X o'clock.
Right.
And you know that it's going to end at X o'clock, and you can leave your guitars in the pit if you want. Or you
really?
Can put
It's
them,
safe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you
okay.
can put them in your locker if you want, but you never have to take them home unless you want to.
So you can always just show up and travel light.
And you get a paycheck. You get a regular paycheck. So
I looked at the numbers, and if somebody has the chair and they took advantage of all the work that position offered them, they're making well into the 6 figures.
maybe if you're doubling on a lot of things, meaning if you're playing guitar and you're playing acoustic guitar and you're playing mandolin and you're playing ukulele, and I don't know if you're just playing one. I don't know if it would be that much, but it's whatever it is, it's not bad.
I understand subbing is $227.42, or at least it was 2 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
I hope it's okay to bring that up because it was printed in the New York Times, so it's not like a...
Yeah, I mean, there's off-Broadway shows, and then there's Broadway shows, and then there's, there's different types of gigs. So I haven't done an actual Broadway show for a while, so I don't remember. It's been like a year and a half since I did one. I'm doing one now, which is off-Broadway, called Trip of Love, which is really fun. It's all this music from the 60s, all these hits, that we grew up with. I'm Your Venus. But that doesn't pay as much as a Broadway gig.
Right.
Because it's off-Broadway.
And I understand, for those who don't know, that they break down off-Broadway, and Broadway. It's basically the number of seats in the house.
Yeah.
So you can actually be, on Broadway and be off-Broadway if it's a tiny theater.
Right.
Yeah. Could you give us an anecdote from that world?
I mean, I can tell you something really freaky that happened to me. 2 freaky things, actually.
Well, there's all kinds of funny.
It's funny now because I'm looking at it from here, but when it was happening, it was not funny. I brought a beverage on stage. It was water, but I didn't cover the top. Mm-hmm. And it was, so you can see where this is going.
Yes.
And I was subbing for this guy, and we were on stage, actually. We weren't in the pit. We were on the stage. So the water is starting to creep towards the pedals, So I had on a jacket because I'm always cold. I just took off my jacket. There were a lot of gaps, luckily, in between pieces. So I, took off my jacket, put the jacket on the floor to help mop up the water, got into my cue, got over the, slowed it down. Then maybe I had a scarf on. I don't remember, but I'm sort of.
But isn't that the heroic part? Is like, and I didn't miss my cue.
I didn't miss my cue. And I have missed cues before for no reason. I mean, that one I was just so focused on, okay, I got to stop this water and I got to hit my part. And yeah, so that was really fun. Not. And then on the same show, and this was not my fault or anything. This was just kind of a weird thing. No, this was just a weird thing that happened. The piano player, who was also the MD, one of the strings on his piano broke.
That's a rare occurrence.
And it happened twice while I was, 2 separate times while I was there. And I thought, I must be bringing this guy bad luck. That was really freaky.
I've heard stories of brass players who had huge gaps in being used, who were playing on a chair sitting between them, Chinese checkers. And then somebody bumped the thing, and that board with all the marbles went all over the floor.
Oh, my God.
That was the end of any kind of pastimes.
You can pretty much read or get on your phone and look at stuff on the internet.
Oh, I never thought. Do a lot of people do that now?
Oh, yeah.
They get on their phone when they have I
don't know if I should be saying this, but
when it says tacit for the next 3 numbers.
Yeah, tacit for 20 minutes. Yeah, one show there's a long tacit. There was no need for the nylon string guitar anymore, so I'd go put it away. Just go put the guitar away in the locker, and that was written in the book. The guy who's so efficient. He said, "Okay, now you put nylon string guitar away."
So how are you doing on the strings?
I'm done, except for my B string, which I shouldn't have taken off because this B bender is complicated and you have to actually take it off, and I don't have an Allen wrench to do that.
Oh, I have all kinds of Allen wrenches.
Okay.
If you want to borrow some.
Yeah.
Okay.
Since I got this B bender guitar, I play it less. It's cool, but I'm nervous I'm going to break the string, so I haven't been playing it as much.
When it's really going to be used, it's okay. Until then, you don't want to wear out that B string.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't the best purchase, but I do like it. It's really cool. And I've used it in the studio. So that's good.
So checking in our progress. So you got the wrench worked out just fine on the B bender?
Kind of. It's a little buzzy, so which tells me I might have done something wrong, but it's okay. I'll have to live with it and figure it out later.
Well, if it's like my G string here, it might work its way out. So Ann,
Yes.
not related to guitar or music at all, what's been interesting you these days?
Well, I'm really into my dog.
What kind of dog do you have?
Well, he's a rescue, so I don't know exactly, but he's pretty much a schnauzer. And we think he might have poodle in him, and they call them schnoodles. But we don't know. We didn't do blood tests. I'm not going to do that. I'm not crazy.
Do they have that? Because I know they have Ancestry.com where you can find out like
Yeah.
on 1/16th Hungarian or something like that.
Yeah, you can do that. So,
you can. If you have a mutt, you can actually get blood tests and find out.
Yeah, but, really, I mean, I don't know how much of that I can, A, believe, and B, is that really where I want to spend?
I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm just curious, but I would think that would have to exist for people who would find that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what they have now? This blew me away. You can have pet food made for you, homemade and delivered. It's crazy.
Really?
If you go to their website, I forget what it's called. And thank God I forget. I just can't.
Right.
I can't. The pictures on their website are like apples and broccoli and, grade A meat. And it's crazy.
The guy wearing a chef's hat, the
Yeah,
meat grinder,
exactly.
we made your specifications.
It's nuts.
And we're just trying to pay our rent in this city.
But yeah, he takes a lot of my time. He gets 4 walks a day, and I like to play with him, so it takes time. I don't go to the gym anymore, that's for sure.
Well, we like playing with our animals too. It keeps me fresh, and it keeps me open to different forms of communication. Because we often will say like, "Wow, isn't it just amazing? Like we're having this relationship with another species entirely." And
My dog sings, not always, but it's really fun when he does.
when he's in fine voice, I'm sure he's
Yeah.
more than happy to show off.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. So we should see how these newly strung guitars sound like. You sent me a piece that I'd like to play with you.
Okay.
A slice of chocolate pie.
It's actually called chocolate pie now. I took the slice off. So I spend a lot of time in Texas because my husband's from Texas, so he could visit his family there. And as you know, there's some pretty incredible pickers down south. And now I know why they play so fast. Because
Why?
they eat this stuff. They eat this chocolate pie there that's got so much sugar in it. You cannot believe how sweet it is. I like my sweets, but this is beyond.
Really?
And I think it just accelerates everything. So I was inspired to write something like that so I could attempt to play like that. That's where it came from.
Key of A.
Yeah.
Let's amp up and try out chocolate pie. Ann, that was awesome. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
Glad to perform with you.
Me too. It was fun.
And the listeners want to find out more about you and your work. Where's the best place to go?
AnnKleinMusic.com. ANNKLEIN music.com.
Well, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, take it away.
That's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining us. Our guest has been Ann Klein, and you can listen to her album and find out more about her at AnnKleinMusic.com. That's ANNKLEIN music.com. Special thanks to Vox Amps USA, D'Addario Strings, and Electro Harmonics New York City. I'm Jocelyn Gonzalez on the Zeros and Ones, and Patrick Grant is our host and axe wrangler. Strings and Things is a Peppergreen production for Headstepper Media. See you next time.